Welcome back. Today we're going to tell you about a really unsettling story, one that comes from our source material out of the United States.
Yeah, it's a case involving family, a really shocking discovery, and some very, very difficult questions about, well, betrayal and being a victim.
We're going to basically tell the story as laid out in our sources, guiding you through the information.
Our main source here is a YouTube video transcript. It details the events pretty meticulously, so our goal is to navigate that information with you.
Help you understand the timeline, what unfolded, and the different ways people have looked at this really tragic outcome based on what the source presents.
And how it all started, how it came to light.
Right.
It's quite unexpected. And honestly, pretty disturbing.
Yeah, let's just get straight into how the source says this began.
Okay, so the source tells us it all kicked off early one morning. A phone call came into the police.
Right, from a man named Adam.
And Adam, well, he had a really difficult call to make. He explained that his friend had called him the night before.
And said something just unbelievable.
Yeah, she told him she'd killed her stepfather.
Wow. Okay, so Adam's first reaction, as you'd expect.
He thought it was a joke. I mean, who wouldn't? It sounds completely unreal.
But
then, the source says she gave details. Details that made it hard to just dismiss. She mentioned poison.
Okay.
And also something about him losing air, suggesting, maybe strangulation or suffocation.
And the crucial part.
The crucial part was when Adam tried calling her back later, just to check, maybe see if she was okay.
Yeah.
He couldn't get through. And that's when the alarm bells really went off for him. He knew he had to call the police.
What makes it even stranger, according to the source material, is what Adam told the police about their relationship.
Yeah, he said as far as he knew, his friend and her stepfather actually had a good relationship. He thought they were close.
Which makes that confession just completely baffling.
Exactly. So, based on Adam's call, this really disturbing information, police went out to the stepfather's house.
Tom Mary, that was his name.
Right. Tom Mary. They were doing a welfare check. Standard procedure when there's a serious concern like this.
And when they got there?
The source says the house was quiet. No answer at the door.
Okay.
Outside, they did notice a pickup truck and some boxes and things kind of scattered nearby, but nothing immediately screamed trouble.
They went inside.
Yeah, they went inside, searched the house. But again, nothing seemed out of place. It was tidy, no sign of a struggle, nothing suggesting foul play inside the house.
So initially it looks like maybe it was a false alarm.
It might have seemed that way for a moment, but here's where the story takes, well, a really grim turn.
Okay.
The source says, just as the police were about to leave, having found nothing inside, they noticed something outside. A pile of trash near the house.
And they decided to check it.
They did, and that decision, it led to a horrifying discovery. Inside that trash pile, they found the body of Tom Mary, wrapped in some kind of cloth, partly covered by boxes.
The source mentioned his condition.
Yeah, it noted there was blood on his face. And the initial estimate for time of death was around 7 to 8 hours before they found him.
Which lines up with Adam's call.
Exactly. This discovery tragically confirmed that Adam's chilling phone call was real. And the friend he reported, the one who confessed,
was Jade Janks.
Yes. Identified by police as Jade Janks.
So who is Jade Janks? The source gives us some background on her. Born October 14, 1983.
Her parents, Jenny and Steve, they divorced when she was about 10, and she lived mostly with her mom, Jenny.
Then, in 1995, when Jade was 11, her mother remarried.
To Tom Mary, the man whose body was just found.
The source emphasizes that for about 7 years, the four of them, Jenny, Tom, Jade, and her half-brother Cash.
Right, Cash was Jenny and Tom's son together.
That they were a really close family unit. And Jade and Cash stayed close even after the parents split up later.
Yeah, that second divorce, Jenny and Tom's, was in 2002. But the source mentions they still cared about each other, kept co-parenting Cash.
Okay. And Jade, what about her path?
Well, her biological dad was in construction, and that apparently inspired her. She studied design, wanted to be an interior designer, maybe start her own business.
And her friends, what did they think of her?
The source says friends saw her as, popular, but also really serious about her work and dreams. Intelligent, attractive.
And she achieved that dream.
She did. Launched her company, JJ Interiors, in 2018. And the source describes it as a successful startup. Made quite a bit of money. Apparently something like $15 million profit in the first few years.
So professionally, things were going really well for her.
Seemed like it. And the source does reinforce that idea we heard earlier. She kept a good relationship with Tom, her stepfather, even after he and her mom divorced.
Visiting him, caring for him.
Exactly. And he supported her business too. He'd started his own company, a butterfly farming business, back in 2013, so he gave her advice.
But things weren't perfect with Tom's health.
No. The source notes around 2019, his health started declining, and he was also struggling with alcohol.
And Jade's response to this?
Well, this is interesting. The source points out she actually moved. She moved closer to Tom's neighborhood, specifically so she could visit more easily, help him out, cook, spend time with him.
That really does back up what Adam said about them seeming to have a good relationship.
It does, which makes what the source describes happening next just incredibly shocking and, well, heartbreaking.
This was about a week before Tom's death.
Yes. About a week before, Tom was in the hospital. He'd slipped and fallen at home.
And Jade was helping out.
Yeah, caring for him, even helping with expenses. She went over to his house to clean it up before he came back, wanting him to have a clean place to recover, do physical therapy.
Okay, so she's there cleaning.
She's cleaning near his computer desk, and her arm just accidentally hits the mouse, wakes up the computer screen.
And the screensaver?
The screensaver was a picture. A woman's bare chest.
Oh, okay. Awkward, but...
But then she looked closer. And the source says she had this dawning, horrific realization.
Don't tell me.
She recognized the picture. It was her chest. A nude photo she'd sent privately to an ex-boyfriend years ago.
Oh my God. Okay. That's deeply disturbing.
Absolutely. And understandably, she was completely unsettled. She started looking further on the computer. Files, folders.
What did she find?
It was way worse than just that one photo. She found a folder with over 100 still images. Apparently screenshots from a nude video she'd sent that same ex.
100. Wow.
But that wasn't even the worst part. She found other folders, more nude photos of her, with these explicit titles like Jade's chest, Jade's backside.
No.
And some of these photos, the source says, they dated way back to when she was just 16 or 17 years old.
Living in that house as a teenager.
Like that was her conclusion. Seeing those older photos, she connected the dots. She came to believe Tom must have put hidden cameras in private places like the bathroom back when she lived there.
Secretly filming and photographing her for years.
That's what she believed. You can only try to imagine the sheer emotional devastation. Shock, betrayal, intense anger, confusion.
He was like a father figure to her.
Exactly. Someone she trusted. The source includes a quote from her about it.
Yeah.
She said, "It was a terrible feeling. I was angry and confused. What is this? After seeing these pictures, I felt so disgusted I didn't want to touch my own body." She felt like a victim of, well, emotional abuse.
Understandable. Completely. But then, her next step.
And this is where the whole thing just turns into this immense tragedy. Instead of going to the police about the photos, the hidden cameras.
Which seems like the logical step.
Right. But the source says she made a different choice. A fatal one. She decided she had to kill him.
Her words were quite strong in the source material.
Yeah, things like eliminate him forever, make him disappear from this world, just erase him.
So she made a plan.
She did. According to the source, she pretended everything was normal, kept visiting him in the hospital.
Acting like nothing had happened.
Exactly. The plan was, once he was home, to give him alcohol mixed with sleeping pills, a fatal dose.
Hoping it would look like he just stopped breathing in his sleep.
That seems to be the idea. Respiratory suppression leading to death.
Did she try to get help with this?
The source says she did. She apparently tried to enlist others, including Adam, the friend who eventually called the police.
But they refused?
Yeah, those attempts failed. Adam backed out. Which, probably explains why he was so quick to call the police when she later confessed.
And her confession to Adam, the details.
Right. The source notes her telling Adam about using alcohol and maybe a pillow that seems to fit with what Adam first reported.
Okay, so that brings us to the legal side. It took a while to get to court.
It really did. The incident was early 2021, but her first court appearance wasn't until almost 2 years later, December 21st, 2022.
And she was out on bail during that time?
Yes. The source mentioned bail was set at about 30 million baht, which, just for context, is roughly $800,000 back then. A significant amount.
So the trial, what was the defense's argument?
Her lawyers argued it wasn't murder. They claimed it was an accidental death, pointing to Tom's known alcohol problem. Suggested maybe he drank the fatal amount himself.
But the prosecution had evidence against that.
They did. The key was the toxicology report from Tom's blood. It showed propoxyphene.
Which is?
It's a sedative, a painkiller, often found in sleeping medications, not just alcohol.
And the pathologist's conclusion?
The forensic pathologist determined the cause of death was toxicity, an overdose from that propoxyphene, which led to respiratory failure.
So, poisoning, essentially.
Yes, but the defense still pushed back. They argued, given his health issues, his addiction history, maybe he took the medication himself. It wasn't impossible.
Did Jade testify?
She did. She told the court about finding the photos, her feelings of shock, disgust, betrayal.
Did she address the relationship with Tom directly?
Yes. She flatly denied any romantic or inappropriate relationship. The source quotes her saying just no, and emphasizing she saw him as a father.
What about the photos themselves?
She denied ever giving him nude photos. Said she had no idea how he got the ones she sent her ex. But for the older ones, the ones from when she was a teen.
She stuck to the hidden camera theory.
Yes. She maintained her conclusion that they could only have come from hidden cameras he must have secretly installed back then.
And the verdict?
Came down in the summer of 2023. Jade Janks was found guilty of first-degree murder.
First degree? Wow. And the sentence?
25 years in prison. And the source specifically mentions it was stated as being without possibility of any appeals.
That sounds very final. How did Jade react?
The source describes her as shocked, very sad. It suggests maybe she thought the court would weigh her own victimization more heavily, that finding those photos might lead to a lesser sentence, perhaps.
And the public reaction, the source touched on that too, right?
Yes, and it really shows how divisive and complex this case is for people. There was a lot of sympathy for Jade online.
People seeing her side.
Exactly. Seeing her as someone deeply betrayed and abused by a trusted figure, pushed to a desperate act.
Were there other perspectives?
Yeah, the source mentions one comment from someone who had a similar, difficult experience trying to get police to act on explicit photos held by a relative, raising questions about when the law actually steps in for that kind of violation.
Frustrating.
Very. And another view acknowledged, what Jade did was wrong. Taking a life is wrong, but also stressed how terrible the stepfather's alleged actions were.
The filming the photos?
Right. Possessing, potentially filming nude photos without consent, especially potentially from when she was a minor, and expressing sorrow that Jade, who was also clearly a victim in this scenario, got such a long sentence.
It really highlights the conflict, doesn't it? Being both a victim and a perpetrator.
Absolutely. The author of the source material even said it was a particularly uncomfortable case for them to cover. It's just messy and tragic all around.
So the source leaves it there, basically, highlighting the debate.
Pretty much. Jade was a victim of abuse, undeniably. But her response was to commit murder, leading to her imprisonment. It forces you to ask, who bears more responsibility? How do you even weigh these different kinds of harm against each other?
There are no easy answers there.
None at all. And I think, as this story from the source shows, these kinds of hidden betrayals, especially within a family, the consequences can just ripple outwards in the most devastating ways.
It really makes you think about how the legal system handles cases like this, where the lines get so incredibly blurred. Is the justice delivered really adequate for all the layers of tragedy involved?
It's a tough question. And it's a stark reminder, isn't it? How secret actions can explode into public devastation, leaving everyone grappling with these really difficult moral and legal issues.
It's a profoundly difficult story to absorb. Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us as we shared this story from the source material today.
We hope you found this exploration of the source material insightful, even though it's a tough one. If you're interested in more stories where we look into complex cases based on available documentation, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.